Here at Nomad Capitalist, we believe that holding foreign currencies as part of your portfolio is not only a way to diversify your wealth, but also to potentially earn much higher returns in emerging currencies. But you can also use those foreign currencies to your advantage when it comes to getting residence and citizenship. And in this video, I'm going to share with you 3 unique residence programs where you can benefit merely by holding foreign currency. Hey guys, I'm Andrew Henderson, and if you'd like to learn how Nomad Capitalist can help you legally reduce your taxes, get your second residence and passport, and just go where you're treated best, you can learn more at nomadcapitalist.com about how we can help you. Let's talk about currency plays. I always love a good currency play, whether it's for higher returns or just an arbitrage opportunity or just having different stable currencies and diversifying yourself. I've picked out 3 countries that have 3 different types of currency plays that I think are interesting. They all lead to residence. Here's number 1, Armenia. Now, the Armenian dram is a currency I've been watching for a while. I've put an increased focus on Armenia in the last year or so, but I've been there on the ground for about the last 3 or 4 years, really studying the market and building my network there. And what's interesting is during that time, in fact, during about the last 5 years, if you take a chart of the Armenian dram against the US dollar, you'll find it has almost not changed. You basically have about a 1% variation. You just have a little bit of volatility in that time, but over the 5-year period, you've had very little actual change against the United States dollar. Meanwhile, you could have been earning 9 or even 10% in the Armenian dram, where obviously US dollar yields are 1% or 1.5% if you are lucky. But did you know that you can obtain residence in Armenia through things like purchasing government bonds? Those bonds are, of course, denominated in dram. Now, I was recently in Armenia, actually putting together the entire process for doing this. There's a little bit of a running around to do. We'll save that for another video. But if you can purchase these bonds and you can go through the process of obtaining residence, basically what you can do is you can hold a cash asset. Some of them can be traded on the secondary market, not all of them. There are 2 different types of bonds. One you need to hold to maturity or close to maturity. Generally, you can sell them off 6 months earlier. The other ones have a secondary market and a little bit higher interest rate. But you can earn between 7 and 10.5% on these bonds, depending on the maturity and depending on the marketing of them. And that's in dram. And if the dram performs as well as it has in the last 5 years, for the next 5 to 10 years, then you'll have a relatively stable return. You can turn that into a residence permit. And actually, they are lowering tax rates in Armenia right now, so it's going to be interesting to see with their new government. I think they're going to be making some, perhaps somewhat slow, but I think positive reforms in the next couple of years. I think Armenia is a very interesting country to watch. You can get residence by holding their currency. Number 2 is Malaysia. Malaysia has a My Second Home program, the MM2H, whereby pretty much anyone can come and put 300,000 Malaysian ringgit in the bank if you are under 50 years old. If you're over 50, that goes down to 150,000 ringgit. And you can get a 10-year residence permit. Malaysia is one of my favorite countries to spend time in. I love it. I think it's one of the hidden gems out there. I run into people all the time who say, hey, I came to Kuala Lumpur and I love it, just like you said. And the MM2H program is very interesting in that you don't need to meet a lot of other requirements. You do need to have a basic income of about 10,000 ringgit per month, so that's about 2,500 US dollars a month. So it's not quite as low as some other retirement programs. But really, as is the case with many Asian countries, it's about having a basic level of wealth. Now, the ringgit got beaten up a couple of years ago. It was one of the, I think, the most unfairly beaten up currencies in Asia and perhaps the world. It has now somewhat bounced back. I think there's some potential in the mid to long term for it to improve. I think you've got a country that is certainly one of the most developed countries in Southeast Asia, is on track to be on par with most European countries by 2030. And they're doing some really aggressive things here. And so if your goal is to hold a currency that I think is a bit undervalued and turn that into a residence permit, all while earning 3 or 4% in the bank, then the MM2H program is interesting because you can't simply come to Malaysia and open a bank account as a foreigner the way you could in Singapore or other countries if you have enough money. Doesn't matter. They want you to live here, have a job, have PR, or have this MM2H pass. And so for me, the idea of owning a currency that is lower than it has been before, that has a history of kind of being unfairly taken to the cleaners, I think has more intrinsic value. And again, you can earn a halfway decent interest rate while you're doing it. That's a different kind of currency play. Perhaps in the last 5 years, not quite as stable as the dram, but a place that a lot of people would like to live, gives you a great immigration benefit. Currency play for residents number 3 is Ecuador. Now, does anyone know the official currency of Ecuador? Bueller? Bueller? It's the US dollar. Now, if you are someone who holds US dollars, then that's not a foreign currency to you. So there's kind of a different benefit for different people here. If you're an American, or if you're someone who denominates your wealth in US dollars, then it's basically the ultimate stable currency play, right? You're not really concerned how it performs against other currencies because that is your base currency. If you're from somewhere else, if you're from Europe, for example, certainly it is a different kind of stable, and that the US dollar is going to be less volatile in all likelihood than an emerging currency would. But either way, Ecuador does have self-sufficiency residence programs that require an income, but if you have about $40,000, you can use that to get yourself a temporary residence permit. You can eventually parlay that into permanent residence, and Ecuador is a very interesting place. It is in South America, which is very immigration friendly. Spanish, of course, is the language, not a difficult language to learn, a little bit easier than Armenian, probably. And it's a place that a lot of people like to live. I mean, certain retirement publications have named it the best country to live in. Cost of living is cheap. If you live in the Americas, like the US or Canada, relatively easy to get back to your home country. And so it's a very interesting country that's definitely on the radar. It's been talked about a lot. It's still not as expensive as some of the other places in that region. And so it's a very interesting place to go. And so if you're dealing in dollars or want to deal in dollars, you can simply put that money into property. There are also term deposit options. Some of the banks are paying relatively high interest rates. You can get a pretty good interest rate in Ecuador. So those are 3 countries that offer currency plays, and they give you a residence permit in the process. I always like residence permits where you can simply just put some cash in the bank or buy a little property where it's relatively straightforward. There are a couple others that I could have listed that I think are certainly going to be more volatile. Certainly Turkey has a citizenship by investment program. Their currency's gotten beaten up. I'm not convinced that currency is going to rebound to any kind of previous level, but certainly interesting if you're looking for a fast passport. I'm also very bullish on Colombia, less of a currency play, more of just a growth investment. There are certainly lots of different opportunities out there where you can leverage holding different currencies and buying property in different places. But if you're simply looking to deal in cash, clean transactions, get your residence permit, those are 3 that I like. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.